This is where I grew up, isolated, by myself, and with no one to train with in the deep forests of Sweden. But despite this, I managed to become a pro footballer. How did I do that? And how can you do the same? In today's video, I'll show you exactly how anyone, anywhere in the world, can become a pro footballer, and I will do so by showing you exactly how I trained as a kid and as a young teenager. I will take you around the place where I grew up and break it down into 6 different areas, including dribbling, passing and first touch, football-specific strength work, endurance work, and a lot more. Ultimately, I want to show you that whatever your football dream is and wherever you are in the world, that dream doesn't just have to be a dream, because one day it might just become your reality. With that, I want to welcome you to my childhood home, and let's begin. So we will start off right here in the ball control area. Now, I moved away from home almost 10 years ago now in 2016, and a lot of things have changed since then, of course. I played in different academies, I played lower-level senior football, and I've reached the professional level of the game. But a lot of the principles that I used to follow as a kid when I trained right here, they are the same principles that I follow today. And this place right here is probably the place where I built up the most fundamental technical skill of the game, and that is my ball control. And what I didn't really know when I was training here, I was just doing my best with what I had. But what I didn't really know was that a lot of the things that I did was actually the things that you should do. And one of those things is to keep it very, very simple. I often see players overcomplicating stuff and overcomplicating drills and overthinking, and I've definitely been there myself. But for the majority of the time, at least, when I was a kid, when I was training here, I did the right things. I kept it simple. And one of the best exercises that I did back then and that I still do today is the one that I will show you now. This was actually an exercise that I found online on YouTube, just like you're doing now. You're searching out the information online. But back in like 2009, 2010, I found this drill on FC Barcelona's academy page, where you create a box out of 4 cones, very, very simple. So what you want to do is you want to juggle the ball a few times, you want to kick it up, and you want to bring the ball under control and try to keep it within the box. If 4x4 is too easy, which you may get over time, you make the box smaller, you make it 3x3, and you do the same thing. Another thing I used to do once I got a bit better is you can juggle the ball up, and when you kick it up, if the ball comes outside of the box, then you take your first touch back in, or if the ball comes within the box, you practice taking your first touch out of the box. And that was one of the principles that I followed as a kid that I didn't really know about, but I constantly tried to make the exercises harder, make everything harder in some way, and in that way I always continued to develop, even though I didn't think of it at the time. But ball control is only part of what makes up a great footballer. So now, without further ado, let's head into the next area. Ooh, that sugar sweet. You got what I need. And this was another area that I spent countless and countless of hours following the second principle that ultimately got me to where I got to, and that was the principle of repetition. This area almost became like an obsession for me, where I put in so many hours. And what I would do here is that I would use the wall that we have in our house, and it's definitely nothing special, but I would just pass the ball. 1 touch, 2 touch. The ground is very bouncy, but that used to challenge the touch, so I could do outside of the foot, inside of the foot, both feet. So once again, very, very simple, but as with the first area of ball control, and now here in the second area with passing and first touch, these skills are so fundamental to be able to make it to the professional level, and I practice those a lot right here on my own without any other player to help me out. And now you may wonder, how can you progress something as simple as passing and first touch? Well, first of all, this is a skill that you never really stop practicing, no matter how good you get. At the professional level, we did passing exercises where it was just first touch pass, because it's, as I said, it's such a fundamental part of the game at the professional level. It's something you constantly have to try to get better at and try to, perfect. But when I trained right here, I did something that actually formed me as a player and into the type of player that I was. So you could, in a way, say that my environment formed the player that I eventually became. And that is something that I think you have to follow as well, because you won't be able to do everything all at once, and in your current environment you may have certain things around you that make it easier to develop certain qualities, and then you should take advantage of those. But what I used to do was I would pass the ball against the wall, and I would take my first touch forward, and then I have a lot of space in front of me, which I will show you in area number 4, but then I will start dribbling. Like, you can imagine that you're a winger, which is my position. It became my position largely because of this. I would pass the ball, I would take it forward, I would start dribbling. And that really shows you how your environment actually forms you to the player you will become in the future. And you should take advantage of that and not see it as something bad, because I did this a lot and I became a winger largely because of how I trained right here. If I had trained in another place, maybe I would have become a striker because I would have practiced more in my finishing, or, you know, whatever it is. Whatever your environment gives you, take advantage of that and use that as a strength and not as a weakness. Before I take you to the dribbling area, I want to take you inside and I want to show you how I trained one of the qualities that young players often neglect. So we're inside and we're into my childhood room, and I don't think I've ever showed it on the channel, but this is where I grew up for the first 16 years of my life, where a large part of my identity was actually laid. And oh, I haven't shown this as well. This is actually when I won the Ballon d'Or back in 2010. Fond memory, actually. But what I wanted to talk about in here was something that younger players often neglect, and that is their strength work, which is a huge part of being able to play and train at a high level, to stay injury-free, to be fast, to be strong, powerful out on the field. And you want to start building your strength foundation as early as possible, because that will help you out a lot the older you get. And I actually started doing that when I was around 10, 11. So I thought I could show you some of the exercises I did right here without any external weights or anything. And you know, I used to find all these different strength exercises online, just the same like you're doing now. And so this feels like kind of a full circle moment. But anyways, I'll show you a few of the exercises that you can do, well, like probably anywhere. You don't need any equipment or anything like that. So if you're new to strength training, or if you just want some exercises that you can do without having any external weights, stick around. In the beginning, it doesn't really matter what type of strength exercises that you do. It's more important to get into the habit of actually doing something. But if you start off with the foundational exercises that I showed you, like squats, push-up, lunges, different balance exercises, you can find a bunch of them online. I have several videos of them as well if you want more exercises. But get into the habit of strength training, and the earlier you can do that, the better. And following up from area number 2, we head to area number 4. And that was the well, which you see right there. And what I did was that I took the ball and I ran and I attacked this well like it was a defender. And I went to the right, or I went to the left. And I would actually argue that this well right here is one of the main reasons that I actually made it into professional football later on in my career. Because what this did was it got me into the habit of 1v1 and attacking my defender, which in the end became my greatest strength as a player, and still is. My 1v1 ability, my ability to take my opponent on, go to the inside or the outside and get a cross in or a shot, and, you know, progress the play forward. And having one key strength as a player is, I would argue that it's key to be able to get to the professional level, that you have one or you have a few qualities that you truly excel in. And in my case, it's my speed, my endurance, my 1v1 ability, my finishing, crossing. But where I stand out the most is probably in my 1v1 ability. And I built those foundations up right here, attacking this well, which is kind of incredible when you think about it now, 10, 15 years later. And then once I had actually beaten my defender, I used to accelerate up here, up this hill. And before, we used to have, this bush or whatever you want to call it, that I could actually finish it. And it was kind of the size of a goal, and the ball would go inside and would get stuck in between all the leaves and everything. But that was the goal that I had, and it worked fine for, 10-year-old me. But things change, and that is probably something I want to leave you with as well here in area number 5, is that you want to be adaptable. Our environments change, your life situation changes, and you want to be adaptable and find new ways to improve. And that applies for the field as well. You want to be adaptable, you want to find new ways to attack your opponent to win the game. So that is something I also want to take with you. Be adaptable, use your environment that you have now, but also be aware that it may change and your life may change, and you want to be adaptable and be able to navigate in that new situation. But we have one area left, so let's head out on the road. And if it was one thing that I had, it was vast amounts of space to just run. And if it was one thing that running actually taught me, it was that if I keep running, I will always move forward. And the same applies to your career, because if you don't stop, if you always keep moving forward, you will eventually find out how good you can actually be. Sometimes you will move slower, sometimes you will even move backwards, but if you keep moving, eventually things will work out. There's a very small chance that your situation is exactly the same as I had, and the training I did here at home was not the only thing that I did. I trained and played in my childhood team and later in an academy before I moved away from home at 16. But what I did right here was definitely a big part of it, and none of what I have achieved in my career so far would have been possible without it. With this video, I just wanted to show you how, by just using what I had, being a bit creative and truly believing in that the dream was possible, it was actually possible to achieve it. Now I want to know which players will actually take this information on board and who will take action on it. Comment the word believe if you made it to this part of the video, and also if you want to, I want to know the first step that you will take to better use your environment to take your game to the next level. And for God's sake, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do so we can reach our football dreams once and for all. But that's all for this time. Take care, and I'll see you very soon in the next one. Bye-bye.